Welcome to the Munro Review, where it's all about connecting, sharing, and valuing the arts in the central San Joaquin Valley. I'm Donald Munro. Today is October 12th, and I'm coming to you from the beautiful CMAC studios in downtown Fresno. We have two exciting in-studio segments for you today. Sarah Delgado, the lifestyle editor of the Fresno State Collegian, is here to talk about the newspaper's coverage of art hop and the downtown scene. And filmmaker George Ramirez will be showing a clip and talking about his new short film, I've Got a Feeling. But first, let's take a look at some of what I've been covering on MunroReview.com. Measure P is in the news again. It's a complicated issue, folks, and I can't begin to explain it all to you in a few sentences, but it comes down to this. There is a lot of sales tax money to give away to arts and culture organizations in Fresno, and a lot of intense discussion about how to divide that money up, especially during the first year of the program. Some of the questions include, should the big established arts organizations that struggled through COVID get a substantial chunk of the funds? Or should smaller and newer arts organizations, perhaps even ones that haven't been formed yet, be given a priority? Should the bulk of the money go toward operational costs or shiny new projects? Again, we're talking about millions of dollars. The first round of grants will be at least $5 million, but there's potential for more, and there may be as much as $15 million sitting in city coffers. That money likely won't reach anyone until mid-2024, however. To keep up on this story, keep watching for the reporting of Doug Hoagland in the Munro Review. Doug has been keeping on top of things, including the nitty-gritty on grant guidelines. We have a special page on TMR just for coverage of Measure P. In other coverage, the performing arts season is in full swing with lots of theater, classical music, and visual arts happenings. Look for reviews of such ongoing shows as The Pirates of Penzance at Roger Rocker's Dinner Theater, and coverage of such recently closed shows as Once at Center Stage Clovis Community Theater and Fresno State's American Sun. I also wrote a preview piece on the big lively art show Jazz Tap Jam, featuring Fresno hometown tap dancer Mindy Copeland. You can find all that coverage at MunroReview.com. Now, let's get to our first guest. Sarah Delgado loves downtown, and she loves art hop, and she also enjoys covering both those topics for the Fresno State Collegian as the newspaper's lifestyle editor, and also for her own local magazine. Welcome to the show, Sarah.
Thank you for having me.
Now, I have to say, we actually see a lot of each other because I am the advisor at the Fresno State Collegian and you are the lifestyle editor. Could you tell us a little bit about what the lifestyle editor does?
Yeah, so the lifestyle editor, my job is I go around exploring the culture of Fresno, but I also cover just Fresno State events as well that include just entertainment, music, theater, and stuff like that. All
the good stuff. Now, we all stayed up very late on Monday night putting out our first special edition of our magazine. It's called The Paw Print, if you want to show.
Yes.
You can actually pick this up at newsstands on Fresno State campus, but you can also go to fscollegian.com and you can read it online through the PDF version. What was the experience like of working on this?
So for me, thankfully, I was already prepared. I knew the stories that I wanted to put in. It was just a blast. I'm happy with the reporters' jobs, of course, and I'm glad that we also got some coverage on Chinatown as well. We actually did a story on Chef Paul's, which is a pretty well-known Chinatown restaurant, I would say. They specialize in soul food, and so it was just great to finally have some coverage of Chinatown, so it's not just like the popular downtown like Tower or just like Fulton Street and R-Hop. It's past that as well. So
so for as long as I've known you, you have been a downtown supporter. You love downtown, you love art hop.
Yeah.
Why do you love downtown?
I love the architecture and I love the infrastructure, but I also, more importantly, I love just the culture. So every time in art hop, my favorite thing to do is just look out for people's outfits and fashion. That's the only day where I feel like people really dress up and show a part of themselves in a way. So they have like this immense form of self-expression, and they just come beautifully dressed. And so that is one thing I enjoy most about downtown, is just the art hop and the fashion scene combined. But of course, it's also just engaging and looking at the art that's here as well. There's so much art here, but it doesn't get talked about enough. So yeah.
Now, you have a strong connection to Broadway studios, and you actually do some work there. Tell us about Broadway.
Yeah.
And that's a stop on Art Hop every month. What would people find when they go in?
Yes, so Broadway Studios is located on 1416 Broadway Street. It is a warehouse that is basically, I believe it's 20 different artists who all specialize in different mediums. A lot of them are painters, but you also have a fashion designer there who goes by House of Francisco. You have a graphic designer, and then you also have, I believe, somebody who works with metal too. So you just get different mediums and all in one place.
Lots of variety. There have been critiques about Art Hop recently. Artists saying we're losing sight of the fact that this is supposed to be about art. It's more about the food, about the crowds, about just getting together. What is your take on that?
So I did speak to one artist, I'm not going to say their name, but I did speak to one artist who had this view that art hop is no longer about art, which I do agree, because if we walk to Moss Fresno, for example, which is on Mariposa Plaza, there's just an abundance of thrift vendors. So people that resell clothing, there's just so much of it. It overtakes the art and what art hop is supposed to be about. And even with Broadway too, going back to it, I have seen kind of like a decrease in people going to Broadway studios because they expect to be able to buy stuff. So I think the purpose of art hop has changed now, in that it's become like a vendor area, which is not bad, but it does take over the art element of it. Unless you're, of course, like selling like handmade stuff, but oftentimes it is like reselling. So
it seems like it probably fills a need or a demand. People like to get together. People like to, convene in large groups, and so art hop seemed to be the most natural place for that to happen. Do you think we could do anything to sort of re-emphasize the art in art hop?
Definitely more marketing, or better marketing, in terms of wanting to, just expose those artists. So more, I feel like word of mouth also really works, and just like, honestly, like old school flyers everywhere. I know Claire Evans, who just had an exhibition at Jeffrey Scott Agency. I know that's what she did, and she had a pretty big turnout. So I think really just going the old school way of just showing your art on a flyer and just pasting it everywhere, I think that will get people to come and see your stuff. But of course, yeah.
Artists have to work hard. Artists have to work hard to market. Now, you already mentioned fashion, and fashion is one of your passions. Tell us a little bit about the fashion scene in Fresno, because not a lot of people realize that it's kind of a booming, vibrant thing.
So, as connecting back to the resellers and also art hop, those are really just the two things that are most important in downtown, I would say, especially during art hop. You get those two elements, people's self-expression and then resellers. But in terms of trends, it hasn't been really up to speed compared to like LA or San Francisco. We're really lacking in that. I really can't say much about it besides that it's growing slowly, but yeah.
And it's a place where people who can't afford to do their work in San Francisco, they've been totally priced out.
So it does give a little bit of an opportunity for like rising designers or people that want to start somewhere, because what they have in mind to design hasn't really been done here before. So it does give them a sort of opportunity, but of course, because we are a little bit behind, not a lot of people will get it the first time. So
You're also a very strong proponent of green fashion as opposed to fast fashion. I think you're the one who really taught me about fast fashion. Give us your pitch for worrying about that kind of thing.
Yes, so fast fashion is any retailer that puts out clothes after seeing like a trend. So usually they put out micro trends or fads and they just pump it out. A good example of this is Shein, Temu, Forever 21, H&M. It's preferred because it is affordable, but it's not the best quality. And so while I'm saying it's not bad to shop at fast fashion retailers, you do have to be cautious of like everything else that doesn't get bought. It does get dumped in landmines and stuff, like in landfills, or I don't know the word, but it does contribute to the environment and the waste. So when you are going to shop at it, not that it's bad, you do want to pick pieces that you know are going to last in your closet, or even if it's just better if you also can go to thrift stores and find pieces you really like and be able to alter them too. So upcycling is also a big thing too.
And that's something that you love to do.
Yes. Yeah.
Sarah, it's been great to have you here. You are a fantastic ambassador, both for the Collegian and also Art Hop. Let's give one more plug for the Collegian. What kind of stories can people read in your section?
Yes, so people can find food reviews, they can find theater reviews, previews of ongoing events or events that are going to come up. And we're going to have a tarot section too. So if you like divinity and spiritual stuff, we are going to have a tarot section coming soon. And stuff like that.
That's the fun of being on a college paper, right? You can experiment, you can get out there, you can do wild stuff.
Definitely.
Tell us, what's the website again for the Collegian?
Yes, it is fscollegian.com.
All right. Well, thank you, Sarah.
Thank you.
Remember that you can read Sarah's stories and a lot more about the arts at fscollegian.com. We're going to take a quick break, but when we return, the short film, I've Got a Feeling.
October 20th, 2023 is Community Media Day, and CMAC is celebrating by hosting our very first oral history project. Anyone in the Central Valley can sign up at cmac.tv for a time slot to bring a friend or loved one to record their story. A CMAC staff member will facilitate the recording, and you'll get to take it home on a fancy CMAC USB drive. Recording sessions will last about 30 minutes, and we'll provide some sample questions to get the conversations going. The project is funded through a pay-what-you-can program, so the more that you're able to give, the more stories we're able to produce. Space is limited for this first project, so sign up at cmac.tv/oralhistory today.
And now let's welcome our second guest. George Ramirez is getting noticed for his new short film. Let's watch a clip from I've Got a Feeling.
Hey.
Hey. Hi, I'm Chelsea. It's nice to meet you.
It's nice to meet you too. What's going on?
Nothing much, just, reading.
What are you reading there?
I need you close to my last breath.
This one is about, it's like this woman who sells her poetry, and there's a guy that's kind of helping her calculate how much she should sell the poems for. So, yeah. I don't know, I feel like I have to read it a few more times to fully understand it.
Yeah, I get that.
Welcome, George. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
I felt bad. What's the name of the character again who's talking to the woman?
Oh, that's Adam.
Adam.
Yeah.
Yeah, you kind of feel for him.
Yeah, absolutely.
He's kind of, yeah. So you were kind of going for a feeling with this film. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, this film was pretty much a case study. I really wanted to focus more on the environment of the film, and I really wanted the body language, and well, that's why it's not a short story. You know, like I think this story can't be a short story because a lot of this detail in the way they carry the way they carry themselves is what we capture on film. So it's really just a case study about a situation. I really wanted to focus on seeing if I can even create characters. If I can create characters that can carry an aroma. And yeah, that's pretty much where the whole I've Got a Feeling came from. And it also, it's just that whole idea from like the song I've Got a Feeling, when John Lennon was like, you know, everybody has a hard year, everybody has a good day. And it's that juxtaposition between both. And that's kind of what I was trying to wrap up in the 15 minutes.
Yeah, so it's a 15-minute film.
Yeah.
As a filmmaker, do you kind of shoot for a time, like you know that you're going to make about 15 minutes, or was that a budget? Is that a budgetary thing?
No, it was the first like 10 to 15 drafts were like 30 pages. There was tons of dialogue. There was so many scenes. There was so many just wild situations I was going to put these characters through. And as time goes on and we were starting to, you know, I mean, next draft, doing table reads, cutting lines, adding lines, it ended up being 15 minutes. And then when I did the shot list and did the scheduling for the 2-day shoot, it all worked out. And that wasn't by design. I tell you that. That literally just, that's how it ended up.
Okay. So you have a fascinating, I would love to see just like your daily schedule, because it seems like you have all these interests, and you really seem to be working hard at what you do. But you are a draftsman, for a local architect, you're a filmmaker, you're a musician, and you're also an actor, and that's where probably a lot of people have seen you.
Yeah.
And so first of all, just tell us about the acting. Where have we seen you in the last
couple years? Yeah, there's a list. Well, recently it was Anna in the Tropics, directed by Rodolfo Cruz. I'm blanking on my character's name right now. I don't remember his name. Cheche. I was Cheche in that play, and then prior to that was my buddy Jason's short film called Offering, and then I was Plankton in SpongeBob at Salmo Arts Center, and then I was Frank in my buddy Stanley's film called Nova, and that's some of the recent stuff.
And you're originally from Parlier, and you got your start in acting, at least at Reedley High School.
Yeah. My first time acting was my junior year in West Side Story. Mark Norwood gave me the Bernardo hat, you know what I mean? He brought me in, first time acting, and it's been an ongoing thing since, on and off throughout the years, but there's sometimes where I'm consistent.
And so where does the drafting and then the music come in?
The drafting, I mean, that's what I pay the bills with. You know what I mean? Yeah, the drafting and working at an architect firm and making my way up to hopefully become an architect that's what I do from 9 to 5. That's what you'll catch me doing. And the music, it's when it calls for it. You know what I mean? Like, I think these days I don't really play the music that much often. It's only when there's an idea, or it's like when we were making this film, you know, the soundtrack, you know what I mean? It called for me to be, all right, I'm a musician, like, I gotta write lyrics and then, you know, work with my buddy Kevin and Michael to compose this song, and Jeffrey. So yeah, I feel like the musician hat only comes on when I need it to come on. And other than that, I'm not really a musician on the daily basis. But,
so tell us about the timeline of I've Got a Feeling. How long did it take to write, and then how long did it take to film? Yeah,
so it's funny because the main core idea of the film came to me. Me and my buddy Jeffrey went to New York a couple years ago, and he went to go explore Brooklyn. So then he wanted to go on his own. So then I went to a few bars by myself, and then I ended up on the pier, and I met this girl on the pier, and there was like a party going on, and they like brought me in. I was a little drunk, and I was like, oh, like cool, you know, some people to hang out with. So I met this girl that night, and we spent a lot of time together that night. And then she told me like, oh, I go to college in the Netherlands, and she's like, I'm going back to school tomorrow, and because it was like towards the end of summer of I think 2021. And I remember that feeling that just like, dang, you know what I mean? Like I just met this girl, and like I'm never gonna see her again. And I think that stuck to me for a while before the idea of the film. And then the song came. The lyrics came when I was outside of Kevin's house. I started writing the lyrics, went into Kevin's house, and then you know Junior and Kevin were there, and then we started putting the song together. And then the script started coming out. And then also I watched the short film called The Back of Her Head. It was an early short film by the Safdie brothers when they were at Boston studying film. So when I seen that film and I seen what they captured, I was like, now I have an example. You know, I have a mentor now, which was that film. Now I got a mentor. And then I also had this feeling I want to capture, this song, and then things just probably like the span of 5-6 months. The script came, casted everybody, started doing readings. We read for a couple months, 27 drafts later. A couple months in, we did the shot list, the schedule, shot it in 2 days, and then a year and a half later, we're here. The film's out.
So it's got a cast of 5.
Yeah.
Were you all involved in kind of that process of reworking the script? And you mentioned like doing readings. Was there a lot of input from the cast?
Yeah, absolutely. That's the way, you know, I give it to Bob Altman, you know, and when I watch his films, I've always just, I've even bought his scripts, you know, or even like Woody Allen. I have his scripts and I'm reading because it's just like the dialogue sounds too natural. It's so good that the way it worked for us to get that feeling was I write ideas, I listen to them read it out loud, I let them, you know, we sit around, let them add stuff to the words, take stuff out, and I would listen to them talk. And that's the way we did it with Barry, that's the way we did it with Megan, that's the way we did it with Junior and Kevin. Mm-hmm. And Greg, I had a little bit of lines for Greg because we just did that one scene with him. And same thing, I was like, dude, like you have the liberty to add and remove words all the way around it. Mm-hmm. And yeah, I moving forward, you know, to the next films, that's exactly the way I want to work. I want to make sure that the actors have also the liberty to live in that character and to also tell me what the character's saying. You know, because at the end of the day, once we're on set, I'm not the writer anymore. I'm the director. Yeah. I'm worried about your performance now. Yeah. And that's the way we made this film.
It's a really nicely shot film. It really looks really nice. There's one shot that I was really intrigued with. It's when the woman character, and I've forgotten her name.
Oh, that's Chelsea's grandma?
Yeah, so Chelsea's grandma and Chelsea, and it's like a shot of Chelsea. It's like she's like doing the coffee cup. It's just a little bit, it seems very naturalistic. It's not a static shot. There's like character to it. Mm. Did you think about things? Obviously, you thought about those kinds of details.
Yeah, I definitely take that back to like John Cassavetes. Well, Jason Duong was my DP, and we worked closely from the very beginning, almost a year before we even shot. And I knew that that's one of the ideas I wanted in the film. I wanted handheld. I wanted like what Godard did for a handful of his just handheld shots, tracking shots, whatnot, and what John Cassavetes has done. And I knew that I wanted that in the film alongside like some static shots that we did, some stuff we need sticks for. And Jason went in, and he went in, and we got those shots. And I told him to explore. You know, we talked about how like we're not just trying to capture a medium close-up. We're trying to also capture movement of people and their bodies, and that's what you see a lot of in another film. I keep naming films. There's so many films. You know, Breaking the Waves, Lars von Trier film. He did that a lot, and I remember telling Jason like, dude, look at the way he not only captures the performance and the people. He also captures their movements, and that was one of the things that we did.
Well, and that's one of the great things about filmmaking is you build on the work of other directors, and it's very close to the idea of painting, as well as painters over the centuries kind of assimilate different styles and perspectives, and it just everything gets kind of built on top of each other. So the film has been selected for the Cannes Short Film Festival.
Is that the Cannes World Film Festival?
Okay. Yeah. And then also for a film festival in LA. Tell us about that.
Yeah, that's a Indie Fest. Indie, what was it? Indie X.
You told me the Indie Film X.
Yeah, Indie Film X. Sorry to Indie Film X for butchering that, but anyways, Indie Film X. They were super cool too, because I submit for best indie film, and then middle of the night I get an email from them, and they're like, "Hey, can you also put on your application best actress?" So Megan, now she has a best actress nomination in that film festival, which is pretty. I was like, "Yo!" Called her up, sent her the email, said it. It was a great experience. It's just like oh snap! I'm sorry.
Absolutely.
She got a nomination for Best Actress. Like, let's go.
So where do you see all this leading for you? Do you have an ambition, or do you want to do feature films? Do you want to stay with short films? If you kind of had the whole thing, you could just lay it out. What would George be doing in 10 years?
You know, I could honestly care less about the industry. 100%. I don't care what they got going on. I don't care. I don't even know how to get in. I don't even know how to, I mean, I don't even, you know, I am simply just going to keep making the films I want to make, when I want to make them, how I want to make them, with the people I want to make them with. And, you know, if I can contribute to revamping, and I don't want to say revamp as if it's not here, but if I can contribute to American independent cinema, like the American independent cinema that inspired me, you know, if I can do that in my lifetime alongside just trying to survive, I'm okay with that. You know, these films don't have to, I don't need Paramount calling my phone. I don't need any of that. I don't need none of them. They don't need me. I don't need none of them. And quite frankly, I don't even want any of them. I want my friends. I want my people that I can trust. I want my people that I know we can make some strong films with, and we're gonna do them here. We're gonna do them in Parlier. We're gonna do them in Selma and Fresno. You know, this is our space. And it's funny because my buddy Michael out in LA, I went to go hang out with him, and he had a film that just came out. And we're talking about, I showed him some rough cuts of I've Got a Feeling, and I remember him saying, like, dude, the best thing about this is that he's like, LA is so saturated because it's being shot here so much that, like, you're giving me new, like, backdrops. You're giving me new background, you know, because he's never seen Selma. You know what I mean? Like, and it's just an alley, but regardless, it's like, that really inspired me to be like, yeah, like, so what I see for the future is just to first try to stay alive, you know? And staying alive and experiencing life is going to put blood into the next films. I mean, that's all it is. You know, I just want to keep making films as long as the ideas keep coming, as long as the experiences keep coming, not even the ideas. It's really just, what's the next situation that I'm going to come across that's going to stab at my heart, you know what I mean? And make me, like, not sleep at night because I have to, like, explore this. Yeah, I guess that's what it is. And I might fall short. You know, these films might not get nowhere. They might get somewhere, and that's where I'm going to play it.
And, you know, that's what being an artist really is about, right? It's not about getting a mansion
Yeah.
in Beverly Hills or whatever. And it really seems to me like you're doing it for the art.
Yeah.
And that's really refreshing.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. You know, I want the opposite of a mansion. You know, I want my own ranch where you could leave me alone and I could, you know what I mean,
Yeah.
put some animals on there and stay back home and pop out whenever I need to.
Right, right.
That's about it.
Well, George, really appreciate you coming by. Is there a way that people can watch the film? Is it online?
Yeah, so I've Got a Feeling is on YouTube.
Okay.
Under the Nexus Vagabond Film YouTube channel. So it's there for right now. We'll see what happens next. See if it gets placed anywhere, and we're gonna keep it moving.
Okay. Well, we will be keeping tabs.
I appreciate it. Thank you. Thanks so
All right.
much for
Thank
having me
you.
on here,
Thank you for
Donald.
coming. So before we go, just a reminder that there isn't much time left to see the exhibition Jose Montoya's Resonant Valley at Arte Americas. For last month's CMAC show, producer Kylo and I got a personal tour. You can watch that half-hour special on the CMAC website and the Munro Review. Here's a quick peek.
I'm very excited to share Jose Montoya's Resonant Valley with you, and I understand it's your first visit to the exhibition, right?
It is.
Jose Montoya is primarily known to the world as a poet. He is, in many ways, the grandfather of all Chicano poets. His Pachuco archetypes. Are you familiar with Pachucos?
Maybe you could give me a refresher.
A Pachuco is the name for a name that's given to a lot of Chicano individuals. And even today, if you Google the word, you will find that it's most commonly defined as a Mexican gangster. But these are people who are most often characterized by their style of dress. You may have heard of the Zoot Suit riots. So Pachucos are people who are participating in this, you can call it a subculture, but they're living their lives as young Latinos in the United States.
That wraps it up for this month's episode of the Munro Review on CMAC. Be sure to keep up online at munroreview.com for previews, giveaways, profiles, reviews, and more. A big thank you to our volunteer crew and a thank you to all our guests. And for all of you, please keep exploring and supporting the local art scene. We'll see you next time.